Hello, everyone. Li Qiang's unconventional replacement of Xi Jinping in visiting North Korea has sparked widespread speculation about whether Xi Jinping's movements have been restricted, at the very least preventing him from easily traveling abroad before the fourth plenary session, particularly to a country like North Korea, which carries unique risks of being exploited by Xi Jinping to disrupt the arrangements of the party elders. Why do I say this? With less than 2 weeks until the fourth plenary session, we are truly in the countdown phase, and from now on, we will witness another wave of true and false rumors about Zhang Nanhai. Moreover, there are already several versions of named sources for these leaks. This is an inevitable pattern of the Chinese Communist Party's CCP black box politics. Naturally, we will not accept all rumors at face value, nor will we dismiss them outright. I have said before that the CCP's complex factional struggles inevitably lead different factions to release information through various channels, most likely mixing truth with falsehood. Our task is to cross-reference multiple sources, filter out the noise, and arrive at our own independent conclusions. Those who dismiss all leaks as so-called bedside eavesdropping are often deliberately muddying the waters, many of them coming from paid internet trolls. Today is October 8th, Eastern Time, and a historic transformation is unfolding before our eyes. Welcome to Jing Yuan's Talk, and please like and share our program to let more people see the truth, break through echo chambers, and gain a broader perspective and understanding. Let's first discuss the latest news regarding the fourth plenary session, and then address Zhang Youxia's precarious situation. Why discuss Zhang Youxia? Because, in fact, he is the true central focus of the fourth plenary session. Yesterday, Kai Shinquan, a U.S.-based commentator, stated in his program that a source closely connected to the CCP's top leadership revealed that, whether among the party's senior ranks, judicial and law enforcement personnel, or ordinary grassroots citizens, there is widespread talk of an impending major shift in Zhang Nanhai's political landscape. Whether Xi Jinping and Kai Chi step down will be a significant indicator. At the fourth plenary session, if Xi Jinping relinquishes even one of his positions, his power will crumble over the next 2 years, making it impossible to maintain the current power structure. The source also stated that Xi Jinping and Kai Chi will be forced to step down due to their age. Xi Jinping, born in 1953, is 72 years old this year, and Kai Chi, born in 1955, is 70 years old. If Xi Jinping and Kai Chi are to retire based on age, who is forcing them to step down? The source did not provide a clear or complete answer, so it remains uncertain whether this refers to Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission Zhang Youxia or the CCP elders. The extent of the elders' influence at this point is unclear, but the source explicitly mentioned a piece of information regarding former Premier Wen Jiabao, stating that all high-level documents, whether issued upward or downward, must be submitted to Wen Jiabao for review and approval. Additionally, the source disclosed that the conflict between Xi Jinping and Zhang Youxia has reached an irreconcilable stage, described as water and fire, a life-or-death struggle. This leak is somewhat peculiar, with the most striking focus being the claim that Xi and Kai will step down due to age. To discuss the age issue, we need to understand the relevant background. Since the Jiang Zemin era, the retirement age for members of the CCP's Politburo Standing Committee has followed the 7-up, 8-down rule, meaning those 67 or younger can remain in office, while those 68 or older must retire. This rule, implemented since the 16th National Congress in 2002, has become an unwritten norm in the CCP's political succession. While not explicitly stipulated in official documents, this convention has been a key political rule in the CCP's power transitions since Jiang Zemin's time. Regarding this 70-year-old line, it refers to the rule that Politburo Standing Committee members over 70 cannot seek reappointment. This rule emerged during the 15th National Congress in 1997, when then National People's Congress Chairman Qiang Shi faced challenges. There were widespread rumors at the time of water receding, rocks emerging, a metaphor for Jiang Zemin stepping down and Qiao Shi rising. Jiang Zemin specifically introduced the 70-year-old line as a lever to force Xiao Shi's retirement, preventing the so-called water receding, rocks emerging scenario. At the 16th National Congress in 2002, as the fourth-generation leader Hu Jintao took over, Jiang Zemin again used the 7-up, 8-down rule to effectively sidelining his biggest rival, the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference chairman Li Ruihuan, who was 68 and never aligned with Jiang. However, after Xi Jinping consolidated power at the 19th National Congress, the age-based retirement rule was almost entirely abolished. At the 20th National Congress, Zhang Youxia, who ensured Xi's reappointment through military support, was already 68 and over the age limit, but remained vice chairman of the Central Military Commission and a Politburo member. In contrast, Li Keqiang and Wang Yang, both 67 and eligible to stay, were forced into retirement, and Hu Chunib even lost his Politburo seat. Thus, if the anti-Xi faction has gained control and seeks to reinstate the age-based retirement rule, it would be reasonable for Xi Jinping and Kai Chi to serve until the 21st National Congress in 2027, when they would not seek reappointment. Forcing them to step down at the fourth plenary session using age as a pretext seems insufficient from any perspective. It would be far more dignified for Xi to step down voluntarily due to health reasons, which would look much better on the surface. Why am I sharing Kai Shinkuan's leak? Because many of you know that Kai has consistently believed Xi Jinping holds absolute power with no crisis threatening his authority. For him to report that Xi Jinping and Kai Chi are about to step down is particularly telling. It suggests that Xi has not suddenly been forced to retire due to age, but has long lost his power, with the age excuse being a mere formality. Secondly, this leak highlights a critical piece of information. All high-level documents, whether issued upward or downward, must be submitted to Wen Jiabao for approval. This single sentence carries immense significance. First, it unequivocally indicates that the party elders, with Wen Jiabao as a figurehead, are truly in control. Wen Jiabao is not acting alone, but is likely leading a coalition, which aligns with previous reports and evidence of Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Wang Yang, and Li Keqiang joining forces with Zhang Youxia to control the situation. Secondly, this indirectly confirms the existence of a top-level decision-making and coordination body. For all high-level documents to require Wen Jiabao's approval, given his age and energy, it is clear he cannot personally handle everything. This implies the existence of a mature, extensive administrative apparatus and office around him. We previously shared that Wen Jiabao effectively serves as the head of a decision-making and coordination body, with Wang Yang as the executive deputy head, handling practical operations. Wang Yang has long been groomed by Wen Jiabao as a potential successor for the premiership. This aligns with observations from the September 3rd military parade, where Wen Jiabao, Li Keqiang, and Wang Yang appeared relaxed and cheerful, with those around Wang Yang showing deferential and ingratiating behavior. Thirdly, the requirement for all high-level documents to be submitted to Wen Jiabao for approval indicates that the elders have completely stripped Xi Jinping of his power. Not just military authority, but also major control over the party and government systems. Xi Jinping is now merely a figurehead, responsible for making public appearances and delivering empty rhetoric. The party media continues to tepidly praise Xi's thought, occasionally engaging in subtle mockery, ensuring he takes the blame for all failures. Thus, while the leak does not specify who is forcing Xi's retirement, the leaker has already implied that if it were not the elders like Wen Jiabao seizing control, how could they sideline Xi the Supreme and leave him to daydream about living to 150? Fourthly, have you noticed? The leak mentions both Xi Jinping and Kai Chi stepping down, which aligns with earlier reports we shared about the elders preparing to prevent Xi from causing a scene, even reserving the option of holding a criticism session against him. Those reports noted that Kai Chi was the only one who did not defect. Additionally, we analyzed yesterday that Xi canceled his North Korea visit, and while protocol would suggest Kai Chi as his replacement, it was officially announced that Li Qiang would go. These three pieces of information from different sources show surprising consistency, all pointing to Xi and Kai facing trouble. As for the claim that Xi Jinping and Zhang Youxia are at irreconcilable odds, we have been discussing this since Zhang Youxia's behavior at this year's two sessions, where in front of thousands of party members, he turned his back on Xi Jinping, completely ignoring him. In fact, since last year's third plenary session, Zhang Youxia has avoided appearing alongside Xi. It was only after the September 3rd military parade, when Xi's high-profile performances concluded, that Zhang Youxia reluctantly attended a military summary meeting with Xi. We have repeatedly analyzed that the rift between Zhang Youxia and Xi Jinping is not solely due to Peng Liyuan's interference in military affairs, which insulted Zhang, nor entirely because Zhang capitalized on Xi's stroke to join forces with the elders to seize power. More critically, Zhang Youxia has resorted to extreme measures, including executions, in purging Xi's loyalists to maintain control. This has escalated their conflict beyond a mere falling out to a life-or-death struggle. This is why I say Zhang Youxia is the most critical and important figure in the fourth plenary session's upheaval, yet also in the most dangerous position. To stabilize the situation, the elders, particularly Hu Jintao, are concerned about preserving the party's legitimacy while seizing power. They cannot completely purge Xi's loyalists, who occupy key positions across the party and government, as that would risk collapsing the regime. Instead, they can only selectively target key figures to set an example, aiming to achieve maximum impact with minimal effort. Reports of Xi remaining in power until the 21st National Congress to hand over power are related to this strategy. However, this approach inevitably leaves a significant risk of Xi staging a comeback. A coup is always riskier the longer it is delayed, let alone for 2 years. Consider this. If Xi still held absolute power, there would be no talk of handing over power at the 21st Congress. He would rule for life until his last breath. But if he has already lost power, why delay for 2 years until the 21st Congress? This only benefits Xi, who needs time to create opportunities for a comeback. The longer the delay, the greater the variables. Thus, in my personal view, any leaks suggesting she will hand over power at the 21st Congress likely come from Xi's faction, as this narrative best serves Xi's needs and interests. If Xi stages a comeback, Wen Jiabao and other elders might, as he himself said, at worst end up retiring in Qingqing prison. But for Zhang Youxia, Liu Yuan, and the senior generals and elders supporting them, the outcome would be entirely different. They would have no chance of survival. A failed military rebellion leads to only one outcome: death, likely with their entire families purged, as she would believe this is necessary to deter others. The fourth plenary session is truly a life-or-death line for Zhang Youxia. No exaggeration. In addition to Kai Shinkuan's leak, there is another version from overseas scholar Wu Zuolai, which I'll share for reference. According to this leak, a complete personnel list for the fourth plenary session has emerged, stating, Xi Jinping will relinquish the General Secretary position but retain the chairmanship of the Central Military Commission and the State Presidency. Ding Xiuxiang will assume the General Secretary role and become the second Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission. Chen Jining will become Premier. Other appointments include Li Qiang transitioning to Chairman of the National People's Congress, Kai Qi moving to Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Beijing Party Secretary Yin Li, from the Post-Palace faction, joining the Standing Committee as First Secretary of the Secretariat and Director of the General Office, Zhang Guoqing becoming Secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, Zhang Youxia joining the Standing Committee while retaining his role as first vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, and Yuan Jiajun joining the Standing Committee as executive vice premier. In my view, this version undoubtedly originates from Xi's faction, as it implies no weakening of Xi's power. It suggests Xi is emulating Deng Xiaoping's model, elevating his secretary to general secretary while retaining control behind the scenes. This version contains significant logical contradictions. If Xi can freely adopt Deng Xiaoping's model, why would he need to relinquish the general secretary position? he could continue holding all three titles. Deng Xiaoping elevated Hu Yaobang to avoid Mao's authoritarian mistakes and to have Hu take the brunt of reforms. She has no motive to give up the general secretary role, especially not to promote Zhang Youxia, his mortal enemy, to the standing committee. If she still held power, he would remove Zhang Youxia, not promote him. Conversely, if Zhang Youxia forced his own promotion through a coup, why would he allow Xi's loyalists to remain intact, leaving himself surrounded by enemies and vulnerable to attack? Against this backdrop, other leaks, such as Hu Jintao refusing to meet Xi Jinping and sending Wang Yang with 8 pieces of advice, or Zhang Youxia and Liu Yuan visiting Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, and Wang Yang with 5 stern warnings, while questionable in authenticity, at least make logical sense. I personally doubt their veracity, as such highly confidential private conversations are unlikely to be recorded and released verbatim. However, these leaks align on key points. For instance, Zhang Youxia's 5 warnings boil down to one core message. If she does not step down at the 4th plenary session, the military may spiral out of control, even beyond Zhang's ability to manage, potentially leading to civil war within the CCP's armed forces. The reason is simple. If she regains power, Zhang Youxia, Wang Yang, and Hu Chunhua will face certain death. Interestingly, the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence recently released a report completed in March titled Wealth and Corrupt Activities of the Chinese Communist Party Leadership. The report is divided into 3 parts, aiming to assess the state of corruption and anti-corruption mechanisms under Xi Jinping's leadership, examine the political function of Xi's anti-corruption campaign, and reveal how it has been used as a tool for internal purges, power consolidation, and reshaping political loyalty. The report's conclusions are clear. The CCP's anti-corruption system resembles a cyclical political purge mechanism characterized by selective anti-corruption efforts aimed at maintaining authority and legitimacy during crises, rather than establishing transparency and accountability. It also exposes corruption involving Xi and his family, which is accelerating comprehensively. The timing of this report's release feels somewhat coincidental and sensitive, doesn't it? Could this be the Trump administration, in some tacit coordination, aiding the anti-Xi faction in toppling him? After all, discrediting Xi's anti-corruption campaign strips him of his proudest achievement, leaving only failures and justifying his ouster. Of course, this could be pure coincidence or speculation. I welcome everyone to share their views in the comments.